It is Tuesday, May 13th, and as always, we're brought to you by Ike's Sandwiches, our good friends at the Dubliner as well. And look, when the call came in to the Golden State Warriors house, there was no one there to answer it. What a shame. Jimmy Butler only took 9 shots. Are you serious? Only 9 shots? That's just 9 more shots than Smiley Dan took last night. Or maybe he was at the bar and he did a shot, so just Smiley Dan did a shot, and that's 1, and now he's only 8 shy. But that's ridiculous. Jimmy Butler, you needed to be more. I'm not regretting your presence on the team. You absolutely were the guy who turned an entire season around. The Warriors aren't in the playoffs but for Jimmy Butler. But how is it possible? He takes only 9 shots. There is nobody in the world of sports who is as good as he is, who passes up wide open layups. It's just weird. It's really weird. As you're watching it play out in front of you, you're like, what is he doing? And I understand that 3 is worth more than 2, but 2 is worth more than 0. And Captain Kick It Out has got to realize that there is nobody shooting the Warriors back into this game. How do you not notice a full NBA roster fumbling the bag? Everybody is dropping everything but shots. So quit kicking out to the guys who can't, and you are the guy who can. But it is hardly Jimmy Butler's solo fault that the Warriors are in the situation that they are in now, down 3-1 to Minnesota with Game 5, an elimination game. On the road, look, all I can tell you is that Steve Kerr has been really good in elimination games on the road historically. But, we're waiting for Steph Curry's reevaluation. It didn't sound very positive last night. Anyone who's around the team trying to pick up a little, what are we going to hear about Steph's evaluation? It doesn't sound like, he's going to be ready to go, breaking out of the gates like a thoroughbred in Game 5. Of course he's going to want to give it a go. Of course he's going to try. I don't even know if the Warriors should let him. If there's anything wrong with that hamstring, you just do not mess with it. You do not mess with him, and that's the way it goes. Welcome to your sip of the day. Someone said it perfectly. It was my buddy Box Kev, who spent a lot of time in Bay Area radio as a DJ. I saw his Twitter handle last night, and he basically said, somebody said it perfectly. Jimmy Butler was the star that the Warriors got, not necessarily the star that they wanted. Kevin Durant on this team instead of Jimmy, even without Steph, it's a totally different series. And I know it sounds good to say that, but I really don't know. I'm going to tell you right now, Jimmy Butler is more of a leader than Kevin Durant has ever been. Jimmy Butler is more of a badass mentally on a basketball court than Kevin Durant has been since he left the Golden State Warriors. The one thing, though, I will agree with you, no one would have had to tell Kevin Durant to shoot it. Felt like Jimmy Butler needed that cliff note. Somebody handed him the note, shoot the ball. Only shot it 9 times. But again, Jimmy Butler is not the reason they're exiting the playoffs early here, unless a miracle happens. As a matter of fact, Jimmy Butler is more the reason why they're in the playoffs at all, right? I'm not going to hold anything against him. And I'm really not going to place too much blame on Draymond Green here. Draymond, he's getting old in front of our eyes, and you can see the tank emptying the deeper you get in the year. And after what was a really good season out of Draymond, I thought he saved his worst basketball for the end of the year, where he just did not play well in these postseason games, and he exposed the thread that you can pull on to get him off of his own mental way of approaching a game. I mean, look, getting under Draymond's skin has to be the easiest thing to do in all sports. Role players can do it. Star players can do it. Fans can do it. Big markets do it. Tiny markets do it. Like, he takes the bait more than hungry trout. He really does. He had one job as the, tenured leader of this team. He had one job, and that was to win one game before Steph Curry's medical reevaluation. And in 3 attempts, the Warriors couldn't manage it. Couldn't manage it. And look, scoring has never been Draymond's real job, but he didn't become nearly the quarterback that the offense really needed. And, to be honest, to not just put this all on Draymond either, even if he had been the quarterback, there were no wide receivers to bring the ball to the end zone. I mean, you had guys who played a big role in the end of the regular season, and you sort of counted on them showing up a little bit in the playoffs, and that's why you thought, okay, so when the playoffs come around, maybe the Warriors got a little bit of a shot. But unfortunately, that just didn't happen. Again, a good year out of Draymond, but it felt like he lost his cool and his edge when he needed it the most. I guess this brings us to Brandon Podziemski. Look, Brandon Podziemski, you got some serious work to do this offseason, young man. All I can tell you is that there's a lot about you that I do like. What I don't like is that this team actually thinks that you are going to be a future all-star. I don't know about that. Brandon Podziemski having one of the worst stretches of shooting in the history of postseason play in the NBA. He has been that bad. He has been that awful. He is having a historically bad postseason in terms of shooting the ball. The thing that I do like about him, though, is he's unafraid. I mean, I'm looking for more than unafraid. I got to be honest with you. I'm looking for more than a guy who picks up a charge. Brandon Podziemski, for all of his inefficiencies, he's still got a scrap in him. I mean, he's still got some dog in him. I like him. But I didn't like the way he's gone about this postseason, and I haven't liked the way he shot. And if he had been just a little bit better than historically awful, who knows? Maybe the Warriors would have pulled out one of these games. But again, he's a second-year player. A second-year player that they wouldn't trade for, what, Lauri Markkanen? I wonder if he would have made a difference. I don't know. Look, I'm just so disappointed what happens when Steph Curry's not on the floor. You have way too many guys forgetting how to play or how to shoot or how to do anything or how to run a backcourt or how to be a point guard or how to be a two guard or how to play without Steph Curry's gravity pulling defenders off of you left and right. Can anybody get their own shot off? Can anybody put the ball on the court other than Jonathan Kuminga and get to the rim? And we'll get to him in a second. There probably was no bigger disappointment. There was no bigger disappointment than Moses Moody. For Moses Moody to have played himself into coaching DNPs, and these are not like we're going to criticize Steve Kerr for these coaching DNPs. Moses Moody frickin' earned them. He did. What a disappointment he is in year 4. Moses Moody, why are you on the team? You're on the team. God forbid anything happens to this team's backcourt. You can be plugged in and you can give the Warriors a league average level of production. And he was awful. He was awful. Moses Moody, to me, he was so bad here in this postseason that it's over, I think, for Moses Moody. I think moving on from Moses Moody is something that the Warriors need to do. Speaking of moving on, this brings us to Gary Payton II, because Gary Payton II used to be at least an elite on-ball defender. He's not that really anymore, which means he's not really that useful as an NBA player anymore. If he's not the defender he once was, and that's pretty much all he ever was, his usefulness has come to an end. I think he's got 48 minutes left with the Golden State Warriors. I think they're losing Game 5. We'll see if Steph can provide a spark of a miracle, but I'm not expecting good news on Steph today based on just being, in Chase Center last night and picking up the vibes that were being put down by the franchise. Quentin Post. Look, anything you gave the team this year was gravy. Let's be totally honest. I'm not here to blame Quentin Post on anything. It's all been gravy since he stepped on the court. The hope of him stepping up in the playoffs, though, was definitely putting hope in the wrong place. It was. And I did it a little. And again, he's got a lot to learn defensively. He's a turnstile there, but he is a little bit of a stretch 5 that the Warriors need. I like the unafraid nature of Quentin Post. I'm looking forward to his development, and I hope he is not turned into somebody who gets, exclusively yo-yoed in their development, like we've seen so many of these young players get yo-yoed under Steve Kerr's tenure. Again, I love Steve Kerr. And here's the funny thing. Steve Kerr's game plan post Steph Curry was outstanding. Some of the 3 best coached games of Steve Kerr's coaching tenure with the Warriors are the 3 losses that we just saw. The Warriors had the right game plan to get them through this Steph Curry injury. Unfortunately, they didn't have the right players to execute the game plan. And there are, young guys who really helped the team get to where they were. I saw this from Sam Esfandiari of Light Years podcast, Sam and Andy. Sam wrote, from January on, Brandon Podziemski was 41.2% on 6+ threes a game. Moses Moody was 37.6% on 5+ threes per game. Quentin Post was over 40% on 4+ threes per game. These guys were knocking down shots, and because they were knocking down shots with the Jimmy Butler spark, all of a sudden, the Warriors are pointing themselves in the direction of the playoffs, and they're playing really good defense. And the really good defense, I guess, did linger post-Steph Curry injury, but the offense was impossible to find. And these 3 guys specifically, Moses, Moody, and Quentin Post played themselves out of the basketball games. Just you guys are now coach DNPs unless the minutes stop mattering. The only time Moses Moody was on that court last night is when the game was over. Brandon Podziemski, again, he's in an all-time historic NBA playoff shooting slump. How are you going to be what you needed to be? And all the Warriors needed to be was a team that could win 1 game off of a not as good as I actually thought they were, kind of a soft Minnesota team. All they needed to be was a little bit better, but they couldn't muster it because not even a second scorer could really be identified in any of these games, much less a third scorer. A 4th contributor, forget it. Never even came close to happening. But I do want to talk about Jonathan Kuminga. Like, kid, I am not sure what you did to either piss off Steve Kerr as much as you did, Draymond Green, Steph Curry. I don't know what it is necessarily about you that rendered you unplayable while Steph Curry was with the team. And look, if you don't fit on the court when Steph Curry is out there, I understand why you don't fit the Golden State Warriors, but there are plenty of minutes in a basketball game where Steph Curry isn't out there. And, if you're saying you can't play Jonathan Kuminga with Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green on the court at the same time, like, I don't know. I just saw it, and I'm going to tell you that Jonathan Kuminga was one of the best Warriors in this series. And for a guy who has been devalued by the team, DNP'd by his coach, and sort of an afterthought, he really left a lot of people scratching their heads. Why wasn't this guy more involved? If it ain't perfect, that's that's not good enough, because there is no perfect out here. This guy's imperfect. There's nothing but imperfections everywhere on this roster. How come Kuminga's not allowed to play through his imperfections and other guys are? Somebody, Jonathan Kuminga, really didn't like you at some point in this year, but you are more of a basketball player than this team has allowed you to be. And it's weird. It's weird how much they needed him, how little they used him, and then when he did get used, he was actually pretty damn good. He was the Warriors. Arguably, he's been the Warriors' best player in this series. He's at least done what has been required of him. Like, Steph ain't here tonight, so somebody's got to score. Jimmy Butler, he's only taking a handful of shots. Jonathan Kuminga checked into games and was like, fuck it, I'm going. And that's what the Warriors needed. Over the last 2 months, we didn't see him. Would they have seen A 7-game series against Houston. Had he been used in that Houston series, if he hadn't have been benched in the final 3 games of the regular season, would the Warriors have played themselves into the play-in tournament out of the 6th seed? I don't know. We can't go back in time and run that experiment again. The idea of playing him makes the team worse, though. It's hard to wrap my mind around. Again, he ain't perfect. Who is? How you play with Steph determines whether you're in the starting 5 or not, or in the closing 5 or not. But there's a whole bunch of minutes in between that moment and that moment in a basketball game where Jonathan Kuminga could have been used, and the fact he wasn't, I'm sure it's left a bad taste in his mouth, bad taste in his agent's mouth. It didn't make an awful lot of sense, especially when you can see everybody running out of gas. Like, you might as well play the dude with the tank of gas in him. I got Curito, MVP 11. JK don't fit with Curry on the floor, but with him out the floor, he shines. Plus, I don't know about great score. He's a good enough scorer. He's all right. That's the thing. There are minutes where Brandon Podziemski is literally allowed to fuck up 9 plays in a row, no consequence. Moses Moody, several plays in a row, no consequence. Stupid, dumb turnovers everywhere, no consequence. But, whoa, man, Jonathan Kuminga had his back turned in a December game and a loss. He can't play anymore? It was weird. It was weird. Yeah, maybe this is it, Soul Man. When Jimmy Butler came on the team, Steve Kerr says, I'm going to play with my next toy. Again, he shouldn't have forgotten his other toy. I mean, you got Buzz Lightyear now, but you still need Woody. You can't have Toy Story without Woody. I want to talk about Buddy Hield. Look, Buddy Hield, he had his moments, right? I mean, here's the thing about Buddy Hield. He finished the season, I thought, better than he was in the middle of the season. Like, he started off really well, then he sort of fell off. And I didn't think Buddy would be that valuable. He won playoff games for the Warriors. He did. He had moments, but unfortunately for Buddy Hield, he wasn't able to stack moment on top of moment on top of moment the way the Warriors needed him to. But look, I'm going to say this. I'm not mad at Buddy Hield. Did he cool off when the Warriors needed him the most? Yeah, that's unfortunate. But, when he shot well, the Warriors were a tough team to beat all year long. They really were. Even before Jimmy, when he was, 18 a night was the magic number. Buddy Hield getting 18 means the Warriors are usually winning this game. So, very, very frustrating night. One thing that I definitely picked up at Chase Center is I talked to everyone, that I could, everyone around the team, all media. Everybody's fried. Everybody's cooked. I mean, you can almost hear some guys saying, like, man, I hope Steph doesn't come back, because Steph could maybe extend this series, but this team ain't winning it. So, get it over with. I think had the Warriors not started their playoff run with a 7-game series, you wouldn't have heard an awful lot of that from the media and some of the guys who are around the team, even work for the team. But it's just been it's been a rough end to the year for the Golden State Warriors, and to go down without being able to, swing your best punch in the fight sucks. And the Warriors, they are shadow boxing without Steph Curry. They aren't really in for a fight. They are shadow boxing without that guy. Like and subscribe, man. We got over 120 people watching, but only 30 likes. I mean, geez, you're going to need to go ahead and pick up some slack over there. I can't start liking these videos for myself. It's up to you. All you got to do is hit that thumbs up. And I got a great idea for you when it comes to what are you doing for lunch today? Whatever you're doing, I hope you do it at Ike's Sandwiches. Ike has got something absolutely delicious waiting for you. No matter what your sandwich preferences are, He's got something for your preference, man. No matter which way your door swings, big meat fat boy sandwich or something like vegan and healthy. He's got that too. I don't know why, but he does. People like that. Over 120 something locations now, West Coast, ever expanding eastward. Get yourself to Ike's as soon as you can, and hopefully there's going to be an Ike's near you soon enough. Hopefully you are planning on getting to the Dubliner West Portal in San Francisco. You go say hi to Kenny and John. Those are my guys. I'm sure the people were in there last night watching Game 4. Heck, I'm sure Warriors fans will be in there watching Game 5 on Wednesday. We're going to ride this out. By the way, it's 7 o'clock on Wednesday night. I'm going to be joining Glenn Kuiper on his YouTube channel, and looking forward to catching up with Glenn. But look, this is a Warriors team that has told everybody who's been watching, like, yeah, you're not going to really have to watch that Game 5 like a hawk. I think we all know what's about to happen. And let me just say this. Thanks to the Dubliner, as always. Thanks to Ike. And I want to tell you one more thing about my man's incredibly outstanding idea for an app. And there it is. That's what the app looks like. And it's actually called Campsite Tonight. CampsiteTonight.app is the name of where you go to download it. And think of it as it's hotels.com for campsites. In the state of California, if you are planning a summer camping trip in the state of California and you don't go on this app to check out availability, you're nuts. Check it out. You're going to really like it. CampsiteTonight.app is where you go ahead and you download it. And I'm just telling you right now, we have built this awesome little community here. This is a neighbor of mine's passion project that he quit his job for to create this. And, you know, look, I wouldn't say I quit my job. My job quit me, but here I am creating my thing. And I'm all about helping people who are starting their own businesses. So I wanted to help my friend Michael and tell you all about Campsite Tonight. Download it, please. Just check it out. He's looking for people to come on board. He's got a brand new idea. He wants to get the word out there. Share CampsiteTonight.app with anyone you know who is going to be camping in the state of California this upcoming camping season. Cheers. Rob C. of Rob C. Note fame says, my theory is that Kuminga pulled an Ime Udoka, and that's why Kerr's not playing him. No, I don't think Jonathan Kuminga slept with anybody's wife. I don't think Jonathan Kuminga did anything wrong against humanity. His crimes are basketball crimes alone, as far as the Warriors are concerned. By the way, though, Rob, Rob asked me if I had got something he sent me a while ago. We were talking about 49ers alternate jerseys, and we brought up this ill-fated 49ers alternate logo. And he said, have you ever seen the helmets? And he sent my friend Elise some helmet pic. Look at these. Rob had these. He had the helmet. Look at that helmet. Could you imagine if the 49ers made that their helmet at one point in time? Please send these to DB. There you go. I got them, Rob. Look at those. Ugly. Those are like pugs. Only a mother could love those. Rob saying, my friend's sister created it. Well, I hope she's been asked to leave city limits and never return. That was awful. Excuse me. I thought I was going to have two there. Only one. Another reason why the Warriors are going home early here, and then we're going to move on. I'm going to lunch today, by the way. This is going to be a short show. Julius Randle was the best player on the court in this series, not named Anthony Edwards. Julius Randle gave the Warriors everything they wanted and a little bit more. He was outstanding. I say was, like the series is over. He has been outstanding in this series. Anthony Edwards. Nobody on the Golden State Warriors can stay in front of Anthony Edwards. Like Gary Payton doesn't have a chance to stay in front of him, which means Gary Payton's got to go now. I think there are 48 minutes left in this basketball season. The Warriors, their body language was wrong last night. They look defeated. They look tired. They look old. They look 1, 2, 3 Cancun. That's the pregame huddle, I think, for Game 5. 1, 2, 3 Cancun. as the season is about to close down, let me leave you with this. Because this year's over, right? This year's over, all but over. Sam Amick, who, by the way, I saw last night, Sam Amick has a report that this past All-Star weekend festivities at Chase Center in San Francisco, that Giannis Antetokounmpo was the only non-Warriors player to attend Steph Curry's party in San Francisco during All-Star week. Giannis and Steph, it should also be noted, according to Sam Amick, are both represented by the same Octagon agency. Still, writes Sam, it was a Warriors-centric event with one notable, very large exception, Giannis. And we now know that Giannis is officially looking outside of Milwaukee city limits when he ponders his NBA future. Even though Giannis is 30, let me be perfectly clear. Anyone not named Steph Curry, any future draftable asset, any young player on this team, I don't give a flying fuck about what he could be 2-3 years from now, might be. He ain't going to be Giannis for sure. Okay? Brandon Podziemski is never going to be Giannis Antetokounmpo. Neither is Kuminga. Neither is Jimmy Butler. Neither is Draymond Green. I would trade all 4 of them and 4 future first rounders. And by the way, then when the Steph Curry Giannis era comes to an end, there's a screeching freaking halt. I don't care. I don't care. In the service of Steph Curry, the Golden State Warriors should move heaven and earth. Joe Lacob should consider putting his wife in part of the trade deal to Milwaukee if it lands them Giannis. So there's that. By the way, you talk about things that nobody liked seeing last night. I was in the media room watching the Knicks closing out the Celtics, and the Knicks were going to win that game. But then all of a sudden, the Boston Celtics completely lost the decade. Like whatever they were about to do, whatever they will be, they're not going to be that anymore because it looks like Jason Tatum tore his Achilles last night. The media room, by the way, went silent. Nobody could believe it. I'll be stunned to learn anything other than that's a torn Achilles. That ruins whatever might have become of this season for the Celtics. It ruins. Jason Tatum is 27. This is the prime of his career. It ruins Jason Tatum's career. Like whatever it might have been, it will be less than that now. It ruins the plan that Boston had to spend devil may care as it's going to a new ownership group. They are going to be so deep in luxury tax with the deal that they gave to Brown and Porzingis. And the Celtics are in a bad spot with a player who is not going to be seen all next year, who I think is on the hook for like 60 mil. So that was awful. And as Smiley Dan says, Adam Silver, promises made, promises kept. That rigged NBA draft sure leaves a bad taste, too. Lund made a good point about how good the West became after the draft debacle. Look, I mean, if the NBA was really rigging things, wouldn't they have let Cooper Flagg go to Chicago? And that was a coin toss, I guess. Nico Harrison deserves nothing. Nico Harrison, again, should be made so uncomfortable in the city of Dallas that he has no choice but to leave it and never return. Nico Harrison doesn't deserve this. The Mavericks don't deserve this. You want to say it was rigged? You want to say it was baked? You want to say it was nuts? All I can tell you is that you might be right. You're probably wrong. And life is unfair. Life is unfair. Look at the New Orleans Pelicans and the Utah Jazz, and all the games that they lost and what, neither team is a top 4 pick? That's incredible, man. You know, tanking is equally a smart thing for a team to do when the time is right to do it. It's also one of the most offensive competitive concepts that we've ever bought and said, yeah, okay, we'll buy it. It's awful. It's antithetical to everything that sports is supposed to be. But there is nothing worse than being stuck in the middle in the NBA. You're not good enough to reach the playoffs. You're not bad enough to be in the lottery. You are a 35-win NBA team. And when you are that, you are screwed when that's what you are. So that just, it sucks though. For anyone associated with the Dallas Mavericks to have a win in the same year they traded Luka Doncic, that's gross. It's just gross. I hate that. Absolutely hate it. Getting some reaction. Got a lot of great names in the chat. A lot of friends in the chat. Otis Bird the third. GP2 is a fan favorite, but yeah, guy can't stay healthy. Even when he is healthy, he's basically ineffective. It's over. It's over. The Warriors role players were never better than marginally acceptable, and they ain't that anymore. Rockin' new era. It's all speculation sensation. Yes, with Giannis, but go get him. I mean, you want to talk about two of the single most awesome human beings to ever be professional athletes, Steph Curry and Giannis Antetokounmpo. From a charity standpoint in this town alone, that needs to happen. From a good guys, interesting press conferences, and great quotes standpoint alone, that needs to happen. Think about what it would be like to team up Steph Curry with someone who is the calm presence and leader that Giannis Antetokounmpo is. This guy stays calm in the face of everything, whether it be, a defensive set he sees, a lockdown defender he beats, Tyrese Halliburton's dad talking shit to him after an elimination game. All he does is stay calm. All he does is show you his maturity. All he does is produce at a level of efficiency the NBA has never seen before. And when I think about Steph Curry, the word efficiency blinks in a big neon light over his head. You put those two together. You'd have very old, late 30s Steph and a 30-year-old Giannis, but even at the age of 30, there is no asset that this team has right now other than Steph Curry himself. And honestly, let's be honest, if you could trade Steph for Giannis, you would. Because one is a lot older than the other. Now, the Warriors aren't going to do that. But in a sane, rational, this is how sports works world, you would do that. But I would trade any combination of any Golden State Warriors, any future assets that they possibly have to Milwaukee for Giannis. And I don't even know if they could even come close to putting the best offer on the table, because half of their players that would be involved in this trade really don't matter. They're just guys. Like Moses Moody has so thoroughly played himself off the, ooh, what might he become? And just out of that conversation. Again, we're still seeing Podziemski in that conversation. Quentin Post, maybe. I don't, Quentin Post isn't even supposed to be here. He's just gravy. But there were two things in the NBA I think that made everybody sick. The Dallas Mavericks winning the draft lottery and Jason Tatum tearing his Achilles. Both things totally sucked. And I tell you, man, it alters the NBA. The NBA was altered last night with that draft lottery result and that Tatum injury. Boston, as we know them, I think wins a championship now. They're not coming back for another one. This is bad. This is bad for the Celtics. Cooper Kupp is a beast. And Cooper Flagg. Well, Cooper Kupp was a beast, too. Cooper Flagg is a beast. And the Dallas Mavericks don't deserve him. Going to have Kyrie coming off another injury. Anthony Davis probably hurt himself listening to today's show, so I don't know what to expect there. Nico Harrison deserves nothing nice. I do know that. Couple of other things to get to here. Couple of other things today. First of all, without even having seen the schedule, the San Francisco 49ers have officially caught 2 scheduling breaks, and they're significant. Number one, it's the easiest strength of schedule in the NFL based on last year's results. We knew that. What we learned today, what we learned last night, depending on when you saw the leak or it all being confirmed today, the 49ers are not going overseas. Now, look, I was kind of looking forward to an international trip. Kruger and I talked about how we were going to do it. And if the 49ers were going to go to London, well, I mean, we got friends and fans over there. Paul Hope, a huge Niner fan in London. He was already saying, guys, let's get together. We'll put, a Plus Mania together in London. Yeah, it would have been great. Would have been great. Maybe they would have gone to Germany. Maybe they would have gone to Spain. Maybe they would have gone somewhere overseas. But luckily, not necessarily for me, but for the 49ers, they're not flying across an ocean during the middle of a football season. That's good for business. There was 2 opportunities on the Niners schedule. We knew that the Niners weren't going to be a home team, but there were 2 teams on their schedule, the Browns and the Colts, who offered up a chance for the 49ers to maybe be shipped internationally, but we learned today as the schedule trickles out that is not happening. The Minnesota Vikings, by the way, are going to become the first team in NFL history to play consecutive international games in different countries. So that's going to be a big road trip for the Minnesota Vikings. By the way, the Minnesota Vikings don't lose a home game, but they will be playing 2 of their road games internationally. They're going to play the Pittsburgh Steelers late September in Dublin, marking the first game ever in Ireland for the league. The Vikings are then going to travel to England, where they're going to take on the Cleveland Browns at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Again, the Vikings are the road team for both of those international games so that they don't lose a home game. The first international game of 2025 is going to be it's going to be in Sao Paulo, Brazil, where the Los Angeles Chargers are going to face a yet to be identified team. We know the Chargers are going. We just don't know who they're playing, not yet. After the Vikings and Browns matchup, we got the Jets face the Denver Broncos. The Rams take on the Jaguars. That's going to be at Wembley Stadium. Those games are in London. The NFL is going to Germany with the Falcons and the Colts. And then for the first time ever, they're going to be taking the Commanders and Dolphins to Madrid. First ever NFL game happening in Spain. So an awful lot of interesting international matchups. I got to tell you, I don't mind the international slate only because when you wake up early on a Sunday morning, like there's a game happening at 6 a.m. West Coast time. I kind of like it. What else we got? That's it today on the NFL. We'll have our big schedule release happening tomorrow. Look, you got a Warriors playoff game. I'm going to be joining Glenn Kuiper on his YouTube page. We're going to have, I think at 5 o'clock, we'll start knowing schedules. That feels like, there might be a live show involved there. If I don't have to get kids, we'll see if Jillian's home or not. But we will do something around the NFL schedule. At the very, very least, put out a video if we don't do a live stream, of course. But like and subscribe if you would, please. And that way you won't miss a thing we are doing. Let's see. What else have we got? We got a top 10 fatties report. Now, I can say this because I'm sure I fit the definition, but 2 in 5 American adults are obese. Not only is it bad for health, it's bad for our healthcare system. Obesity costs this nation $173 billion a year. 39 states with data available from 2023 posted age-adjusted obesity rates of 30% or more, with 3 states hitting a threshold of at least 40%. Nearly half the people living in your state, in 3 states, are obese. Again, I'm not saying I'm not. I need to get my shit under control. But listen to this. This is where Homer Simpson holds up the pennant that says girth. Springfield, fattest city in America. Here you go. Your fattest, fatty states in America. Guess what they have in common? They're all trying so hard to make America great again. Right down the line. West Virginia, your fattest state in America, where 41.7% of West Virginia state population now qualifies as obese. Arkansas and Mississippi are the next 2, again, coming in at over 40% of the population being obese. Then it's followed by Louisiana, Alabama, Oklahoma, Iowa, Kentucky, Indiana, and Tennessee. Basically, all the rubes, all the MAGA people are the fattest and measurably dumbest people out there. No wonder he does so well with them. It's amazing the correlation, obesity and lack of education in states. It's stunning. But we don't want to go Fiesta Politico today. You all know who you are, and you're all trying to tell yourself that taking a present like of an airliner is no big deal. You fucking hypocrites. But again, we're playing nice. Damien, like the show, but you're full of shit on that one. No, I'm not full of shit. These are facts. Again, I understand why you are allergic to facts. If that's the part of the way if that's how you think. Because facts always suck for you guys. We will end with this. It is today in history, and we got some significant birthdays to celebrate today. Happy birthday to one of the best actors out there. He's older than I thought he was. Harvey Keitel is now 86 years old. 86 years old. Stevie Wonder. Happy birthday, Stevie. 75 years old, Stevie Wonder today. Dennis Rodman is 64. Look, we got a great actor, a great performer, a great rebounder. Stephen Colbert, 61. What a character he created. There you go. Harvey Keitel, Stevie Wonder, Dennis Rodman, Stephen Colbert, all celebrating birthdays today. Today in 1607. So we're going way back for this one. English in Virginia founded Jamestown, the first permanent English settlement in North America. So happy birthday to the first settlement ever, Jamestown in Virginia, in 1607. 30 years later, did you know that America is officially older than the dinner knife? 30 years later, in 1637, France's Cardinal Richelieu invented the table knife. Apparently, before the table knife, all knives were basically steak knives. All knives came with a sharp, pointy tip. You know, knives for your sheath, knives for hunting, knives to eat with. All knives came with sharp, pointy tips. Well, Cardinal Richelieu was sick and tired of watching his dinner companions use the tip of the sharp knife to pick their teeth like a toothpick. So he invented the rounded, now dinner knife. So there you go. The frickin' dinner knife. Who doesn't like dinner knives? Butter knives. Happy birthday, butter knife. That happened today. Today in 1939, the very first commercial FM radio station was launched in Bloomfield, Connecticut. The station later became WDRC FM, which I think is a rock station now in Connecticut. But yeah, FM radio, basically. Happy birthday today. when I got laid off, that was the day that radio died. We all know that. So we know the day that radio was now born, and we know the day that radio officially died. Today in 1940, I'm a big Winston Churchill guy. British politician Winston Churchill faced the House of Commons for the very first time and famously said, "I have nothing to offer you but my blood, toil, tears, and sweat." Politicians don't talk like that anymore. When's the last time a politician said, "I'm not here to be a criminal. I'm here to offer you my blood, toil, tears, and sweat"? We should be so lucky. Today in 1973, Bobby Riggs beat Margaret Court in a $10,000 winner-take-all tennis challenge. Because of that, Bobby Riggs started talking his shit, how he could beat any woman in the world. And by the way, Bobby Riggs at this point was kind of an old man, but a very young Billie Jean King said, "Not so fast, my friend," just like Lee Corso. And then on September 20th, 1973, won what would be known as the Battle of the Sexes, which is one of the biggest televised sporting events ever. I think it came from the Houston Astrodome. And Billie Jean King beat a much, much older than her Bobby Riggs, but it was a big moment for women's tennis and Billie Jean King and American sports happenings. It all started, though, when Bobby Riggs beat Margaret Court, and that happened today in 1973. Today in 1994, Johnny Carson made his final television appearance. He did it on The Late Show with David Letterman. To this day, I'm still upset that David Letterman didn't get The Tonight Show. That sucks. It sucks that he didn't get The Tonight Show, and we had to live through Jay Leno's absolutely vanilla milquetoast jokes at 11:30 for all those years. Again, I don't know how these things are figured out, but it is World Cocktail Day. So wherever you are, get to the Dubliner this evening, have yourself a cocktail, have a good cocktail. And by the way, if you're, a person who is uncomfortable around alcohol, I've got good news for you. World Cocktail Day goes all the way to the concept of fruit cocktail. It is also Fruit Cocktail Day. So if you can't have a cocktail, have yourself a fruit cocktail and enjoy Cocktail Day. Now that I know it is Cocktail Day, I know what I'll be ordering at lunch. Let's be honest, didn't need to be Cocktail Day for that to happen. I love a 2-martini lunch. I'm not afraid of them. I'm not afraid. Neither should you be. Cheers. Thanks so much for watching. Thank you for hitting that like button. Thank you for hitting that subscribe button. Thanks to all the supers. No supers today. That's fine. Thank you very, very much for liking, subscribing, supporting Ikes, going to the Dubliner, downloading campsitetonight.app, and being here just about every single day at 11 a.m. West Coast time when we do a live stream together. It's always a pleasure to have you. It's an honor to have you. I thank you for being here very, very much. And please do remember that sports don't build character, they reveal it. And like that, he's gone.